The alarm screamed through the cabin of the Morning Star. Tae-Yang jerked awake in his pilot seat, his heart pounding. The red warning lights painted everything in blood-colored shadows. His cargo ship shuddered as something passed too close. "What now?" he muttered, rubbing sleep from his eyes. The screen showed a distress beacon, weak but steady. Out here in the neutral zone, that meant trouble. Pirates used fake beacons to lure ships. Smugglers dumped their cargo and ran when patrols came near. Smart people ignored distress calls in this part of space. Tae-Yang was usually smart, but tonight something felt different. He changed course toward the signal. His ship groaned in protest. She was old, patched together from 3 different models, but she was his home and she never let him down. The beacon grew stronger as he approached. Soon he saw it. A ship, or what was left of one. The wreckage tumbled slowly through space. It was strange, nothing like human ships. The hull was dark metal with patterns that seemed to flow like water. Weapons fire had torn through it. Whatever happened here, it had been violent and fast. Anyone alive in there? Tae-Yang whispered to himself. He scanned for life signs. One signal, faint, fading, he should leave. Call it in and move on. That was the safe choice. Instead, he suited up and grabbed his emergency medical kit. 10 years of hauling cargo through dangerous space had taught him many things. The most important lesson was this. Sometimes you had to do the stupid thing because it was right. The airlock hissed as he crossed from his ship to the wreck. His magnetic boots clanked against the torn metal. Inside, emergency lights flickered. The corridor was a mess of floating debris and frozen atmosphere crystals. He followed the life sign readings deeper into the ship. Then he found her. She was massive, easily over 2 meters tall. Her body was covered in silver fur that caught the emergency lights, but it was her face that made him stop breathing. Wolf-like but intelligent, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with human standards. Her eyes were closed, but he could see the pattern of blue lights under her fur, pulsing weakly. Blood floated around her in dark globules. So much blood. A piece of metal had pierced her side. Her breathing was shallow, labored. She was dying. "Hey," Tae-Yang said softly, moving closer. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes snapped open. They were golden like molten metal. She snarled, showing teeth that could tear through his suit. Her hand, tipped with claws, grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. She said something in a language he didn't know. It sounded like thunder and wind. "Easy," he said, keeping his voice calm. "I'm here to help. I won't hurt you." She didn't understand his words, but maybe she understood his tone. Her grip loosened slightly. The blue lights under her fur flickered faster. Her eyes searched his face, looking for something. Whatever she saw, it must have satisfied her. She let go and slumped back, unconscious. Tae-Yang worked quickly. He couldn't remove the metal shard here. Moving her was dangerous, but leaving her was death. He used emergency sealant around the wound, sprayed medical foam to stabilize her, and injected her with broad-spectrum stabilizers. He hoped alien biology was close enough to human that it wouldn't poison her. Getting her back to his ship was the hardest thing he'd ever done. She was heavy, even in zero gravity. His muscles burned. His suit's oxygen alarm started beeping, but he didn't stop. One step at a time, he dragged her through the wreckage, across the empty space and into the Morning Star. In his medical bay, which was really just a converted storage room with a medical pod, he worked for hours. The metal came out. The wound was deep but clean. He stitched tissue that looked both familiar and alien. His hands moved on instinct and training from his time in the Merchant Marines. As he worked, he noticed something strange. The blue lights under her fur began to pulse in a steady rhythm. At first, he thought it was just her healing. Then he realized the truth. They were pulsing in time with his own heartbeat. "What are you?" he whispered, watching the lights dance across her silver fur. She didn't answer, lost in whatever dreams injured aliens had, but her breathing grew stronger. The lights grew brighter. Life was returning to her. Tae-Yang cleaned his tools and washed the blood from his hands. Exhaustion hit him like a physical weight. He set up a monitoring system to alert him if her condition changed. Then he collapsed in the chair next to her bed. He should sleep in his own quarters. But something made him stay. Some instinct told him she shouldn't be alone when she woke up. So he sat there in the dim light, watching her breathe, watching the blue lights pulse. Outside, the Morning Star drifted through the neutral zone. Inside, 2 beings from different worlds rested side by side. Neither knew that this moment, this simple act of compassion, would change the fate of 2 entire species. The ship's computer hummed softly. Stars wheeled past the viewports, and on the medical bed, the alien wolf-woman's lights pulsed steadily, synchronized perfectly with the heartbeat of the human who had saved her life. Tae-Yang dozed, his head dropping forward. In his dreams, he heard thunder and wind, words in a language he didn't know but somehow understood. They spoke of bonds and destiny, of ancient promises and new beginnings. When he woke hours later, he wouldn't remember the dreams clearly, but he would remember the feeling of rightness of being exactly where he was supposed to be. The woman stirred, her clawed hand twitching. The lights under her fur flared bright blue for a moment, then settled back into that steady pulse. In her unconscious state, she turned her head toward Tae-Yang as if seeking his presence even in sleep. Neither of them knew it yet, but something profound had happened in those hours of surgery and blood. The bond had begun, ancient and powerful, connecting two souls across the vast divide of species and culture. It was invisible but real, growing stronger with every synchronized heartbeat. When morning came, if such a thing existed in the timeless void of space, everything would change. But for now they simply existed together in the quiet darkness, human and alien, alone but no longer lonely. The rescue was complete. The real journey was about to begin. Tae-Yang woke to the sound of growling. His eyes snapped open. The alien woman was awake, sitting up in the medical bed, her golden eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his breath catch. The blue lights under her fur blazed bright, almost painful to look at. "Easy," he said, holding up his hands. "You're safe. You were hurt. I helped you." She spoke rapidly in that language of thunder and wind. Her voice was deeper than he expected, musical despite the harsh sounds. She pointed at herself, then at him, then at the medical equipment. Her expression was confused, maybe frightened. "Wait," Tae-Yang said. He moved slowly to his computer terminal, keeping his movements gentle and non-threatening. "I have a translation program. It's old and not very good, but maybe it can help." He activated the Universal Translator, a piece of software he'd picked up from a trader years ago. It was designed to learn languages by listening. The woman watched him work, her ears tilted forward with interest. When he turned on the audio pickup, she spoke again. The computer struggled with her language. Words came out broken and strange, but slowly meaning emerged. "Where am I? What are you?" The translator made her voice sound mechanical, but he could hear the emotion underneath. "You're on my ship, the Morning Star. I'm Tae-Yang. I found you in your wrecked ship. You were dying, so I brought you here. I'm human from Earth." She stared at him for a long moment. "Human," she repeated, the translator catching the word. "Your kind does not travel far from homeworld. You stay away from other species. Some of us do," Tae-Yang said. "I'm a cargo hauler. I go where the jobs are. What's your name? What happened to you?" "Nari," she said. "I am Lupari, warrior scout. My ship was attacked by the Vrex Collective. They destroyed my crew. I was only survivor." Pain flickered across her face. Tae-Yang understood that pain. He'd lost people too. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "But you're safe now. Your wounds are healing well." Nari looked down at herself. She touched the bandages over her side, then looked at her arms. The blue lights pulsed steadily under her fur. She seemed to notice them for the first time. Her eyes widened. "No," she whispered. "This cannot be. What's wrong? Are you in pain?" "The lights," Nari said. She held up her arm, watching the blue patterns move under her fur. "They pulse with your heartbeat. I can feel it, feel you. This is the mate bond." "Mate bond? What's that?" Nari struggled to her feet. Tae-Yang jumped up to help her, but she waved him away. She paced the small medical bay like a caged animal. "Among my people there are old stories, legends of a species called Heartkeepers. They could bond with Lupari, creating a connection deeper than anything else, mind, body, soul. But Heartkeepers vanished long ago. 10,000 years passed. The legends say they will return when we need them most. And you think I'm one of these Heartkeepers?" "The bond does not lie," Nari said. She looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. "When you saved me, when your hands touched my wounds, the bond began. Now it grows stronger. I can feel your emotions, faint but real. Your worry, your confusion, your kindness." Tae-Yang sat down heavily. "Wait, so we're connected now?" "Permanently, yes." Nari stopped pacing. "The mate bond cannot be broken. It will grow stronger over time, We will share life force, emotions, even thoughts. Our lifespans will synchronize. If one dies, the other follows soon after. The words hung in the air between them. Taeyang tried to process what she was saying. His life, his freedom, his future, all tied to this alien woman he'd just met. It should have terrified him. Instead, he felt something else. A rightness. A sense of completion he'd never known before. "Can you really feel what I'm feeling?" he asked. "Some. It will get stronger. Right now I sense you are not angry, not afraid. You are curious, accepting. This confuses me." Taeyang laughed, surprising himself. "I've been alone for a long time, working this ship by myself, going from station to station. It's a lonely life. Maybe part of me is relieved to have company." Nari tilted her head, studying him. "You saved my life. You asked for nothing in return. This is unusual. Most species I know would have left me to die or saved me only for profit. Where I come from, we help people when we can. It's what makes us human." "Perhaps that is why you are heart keepers," Nari said softly. She sat down across from him, moving more carefully now. "Your kind has the capacity for great compassion. My people, the Lupari, are warriors. We value strength and honor. But we have lost something over the centuries. The ability to truly connect with others." Over the next few days they talked. The translator improved as it learned Nari's language. She told him about Lupari culture, their pack structures, their military traditions. She explained how the mate bond worked, the benefits and the dangers. Bonded pairs were stronger, faster, harder to kill. They healed each other's wounds. They knew when the other was in danger, but the bond also made them vulnerable. The pain of one became pain for both. Separation caused physical suffering, and if the bond was rejected by either party, both would slowly die. "Do you reject it?" Nari asked him on the third day. They were sitting in the ship's small common area, sharing a meal. Taeyang had learned that Lupari could eat human food, though they preferred meat. "No," Taeyang said. He'd thought about it carefully. "I won't lie and say this is easy. It's strange and frightening. But I don't reject it." "What about you?" Nari's lights pulsed brighter. "I am warrior. I was taught to be independent, to need no one. The bond goes against everything I was trained to believe, but I cannot deny what I feel. You saved me. You treated me with kindness when you could have left me to die. I do not reject the bond either." Taeyang reached across the table. Slowly, carefully, he touched her hand. Her fur was soft, warm. The blue lights under her skin flared bright where they connected. He felt it then, clear as sunlight. Her emotions, relief, gratitude, fear, hope, and underneath it all, a growing affection that mirrored his own. "So what do we do now?" he asked. Nari squeezed his hand gently, careful of her claws. "Now we face what comes together. My people need to know about this. Your people as well. The return of the Heart Keepers will change everything." "Then we better get ready," Taeyang said, "because something tells me our quiet life just ended." Outside the viewport, stars streamed past as the morning star carried them toward an uncertain future. But inside, two souls grew closer, bound by something ancient and powerful, ready to face whatever. The trading post appeared on the view screen like a jewel floating in darkness. Hyojin Station, they called it. A massive structure built from old ships and salvaged materials. It served as neutral ground where dozens of species met to trade. Taeyang had been coming here for years. "That is where we are going?" Nari asked. She stood beside him at the controls, her presence now familiar and comforting. "Yes. Captain Heijin runs it. She's tough but fair. We need supplies and information about the Vrex attack." Nari's lights flickered with anxiety. Through the bond, Taeyang felt her worry. She was nervous about meeting others, about being seen with him. He reached over and squeezed her hand. "It'll be okay," he said. "You cannot know that," Nari replied. But she squeezed back. They docked without incident. The station's main corridor was crowded with beings from a dozen species. Traders shouted in various languages. The smell of strange foods and ship fuel mixed in the recycled air. Taeyang had always loved this chaos. Today he saw it through Nari's eyes and realized how overwhelming it must be. People stared as they passed. A human walking with a Lupari was unusual enough. The way Nari's lights pulsed in sync with Taeyang's steps made it obvious something more was happening. Whispers followed them. Hyojin's office was at the station's center. The door slid open before they could knock. Captain Hyojin sat behind her desk, a compact woman with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She looked at Taeyang, then at Nari, then back at Taeyang. "Well," she said in Korean, "you've gotten yourself into something interesting this time." "You have no idea," Taeyang replied in the same language. Then switching to common, "Captain Hyojin, this is Nari, she's Lupari. We need your help." Hyojin gestured for them to sit. "I can see the bond marks. Didn't think humans could do that with Lupari. Thought it was just legend." "It is real," Nari said. "This human is Heartkeeper. The legends are true." Before Hyojin could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The lights shifted to yellow alert. Hyojin's computer screen lit up with docking notifications. "Lupari military ship requesting emergency docking," Hyojin read. She looked at Nari. "Friends of yours?" Nari stood quickly. "My people. They must have tracked my distress beacon. Is that bad?" Taeyang asked, though through the bond he already felt Nari's fear. "It depends on who comes," Nari said. They found out soon enough. Commander Ryuk strode through the docking bay with a squad of Lupari warriors. He was massive, even for his species, with black fur and red markings. His eyes swept the bay and locked onto Nari. Relief crossed his face, then confusion, then anger. "Warrior Nari," he said in the Lupari language. The translator on Taeyang's wrist crackled to life. "We feared you dead, but I see you have survived. Come. We must return to the fleet immediately." "Commander Ryuk," Nari said, bowing her head in respect. "I am grateful for your concern, but I cannot leave yet. There are complications." Ryuk's gaze shifted to Taeyang for the first time. He saw the bond marks on Nari, saw how she stood close to the human. Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed by disgust. "No," Ryuk said. "You have bonded with a human? This is forbidden." "It is not forbidden," Nari replied, her voice strong. "The ancient texts speak of Heartkeepers. This human saved my life. The bond formed naturally." "The ancient texts are stories for children," Ryuk growled. "You are a warrior of the Lupari. You have duties, responsibilities. You cannot throw them away for some primitive species." Taeyang felt anger flare through the bond. Nari's lights blazed bright blue, almost white. Before she could respond, he stepped forward. "I don't know your customs," Taeyang said calmly, "but I know Nari saved my life too just by accepting the bond. We're connected now. If you try to take her, you'll hurt us both." Ryuk's hand went to his weapon. His warriors tensed. The crowd in the docking bay backed away. Station security moved in, but everyone knew they couldn't stop Lupari warriors if they decided to fight. "Stand down, Commander." A new voice cut through the tension. An old Lupari female emerged from Ryuk's ship. Her fur was white with age, her movements slow but dignified, but her eyes were sharp and bright. Everyone in the bay, including Ryuk, immediately showed her respect. "Elder Kayla," Ryuk said, bowing low. "I did not know you were aboard." "That was intentional," Kayla said. She walked past him and straight to Taeyang. She studied his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Then she smiled. "Heartkeeper, after 10,000 years you have returned." She turned to Nari. "Child, you have done well. The bond is strong and true. I can see it clearly." "Elder," Nari said, emotion thick in her voice. "You believe the legends?" "I do not believe, child. I remember. I am old enough to have heard the stories from those who heard them from the first generation. The Heartkeepers existed. They saved us. And now they have returned," Ryuk sputtered. "But elder, humans are barely spacefaring. They have no great technology, no military might. How can they be the Heartkeepers?" "The Heartkeepers never had great technology," Kayla said. "Their strength was different. It was their capacity for compassion, for forming true bonds. That is what saved us before. That is what will save us now." "Save us from what?" Taeyang asked. Kayla's expression grew grave. "The Vrex Collective has developed a biological weapon, a plague that targets only Lupari. It has already killed thousands. Our scientists cannot find a cure. But the old texts say that bonded Lupari are immune to such diseases. The mate bond protects both partners from illness." Silence fell over the docking bay. Taeyang felt Nari's shock through the bond, matching his own. This wasn't just about the two of them anymore. This was about the survival of an entire species. "That is why the Vrex attacked your ship," Ryuk said to Nari, understanding dawning. "You were investigating their weapons facilities. They wanted to silence you." "Yes," Nari said quietly. Hyojin stepped forward. "This conversation needs to happen in private, not in my docking bay. Everyone to my conference room, now." As they moved through the station, Taeyang's mind raced. A plague, a war, and somehow he and Nari were at the center of it all. He felt Nari's hand slip into his, her claws gentle against his skin. Through the bond he felt her determination and fear, her love and duty all mixed together. He sent back his own feelings, acceptance, strength, and a promise. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The simple rescue had become something much larger. Their bond was no longer just about them. It was about the future of two species, and there was no turning back now. Hyojin's conference room was small but secure. Soundproof walls kept their conversation private. Elder Kayla sat at the head of the table, her ancient eyes watching everyone carefully. Taeyang sat beside Nari, their hands clasped under the table. Commander Ryuk stood against the wall, his arms crossed, clearly unhappy. "I will tell you the true history," Kayla began. "Not the children's stories, not the legends. The truth that has been passed down through the keepers of memory for 10,000 years. She leaned forward, her voice taking on the rhythm of a storyteller. "Long ago, my people were dying. A plague swept through our worlds, killing millions. We were strong warriors, but we could not fight disease. Our scientists worked desperately but found no cure. We were facing extinction." Taeyang listened, fascinated. Nari's grip on his hand tightened. "Then the Heartkeepers came," Kayla continued, "a species we had never seen before. They were physically weak compared to us. Their technology was not advanced, but they had something we lacked, the ability to form deep emotional connections, to heal not just bodies but spirits. They offered to help us. At first we refused. We were proud. We did not want charity from what we saw as a lesser species, but as more of our people died, we became desperate. We accepted their help. The Heartkeepers formed bonds with our people. They discovered that the mate bond provided immunity to the plague. More than that, it made both species stronger, healthier, longer lived. Within a generation, the plague was defeated. We were saved," Ryuk spoke up. "Then why did they leave? If they were our saviors, why abandon us?" Sadness crossed Kayla's face. "Because we drove them away. As the plague ended, some of our people became afraid. They worried that the bonds were making us weak, too dependent on another species. A faction of extremists began hunting bonded pairs. They killed Heartkeepers and their mates, claiming they were protecting Lupari purity. The remaining Heartkeepers fled. They took their ships and left our space. They said they would return when we were ready to truly accept them. When we had learned to value connection over pride. That was 10,000 years ago. We never found them again." Silence filled the room. Taeyang felt sick. "You're saying my ancestors ran away to hide from your people?" "We believe they settled on a distant world," Kayla said. "A world where they could live in peace, isolated from the greater galaxy. Over time, they forgot their history. They forgot about us." "Earth," Taeyang whispered. "You think the Heartkeepers became humans? That's why we've stayed isolated." "We were hiding." "Yes," Kayla said. "And now, when we face extinction again, you have returned. The prophecy said the Heartkeepers would come back in our darkest hour." Hyojin activated a holographic display. Medical data filled the air. "I've been monitoring the Vrex plague reports. It's spreading fast through Lupari space. Thousands dead already. Entire colonies quarantined. Your military is losing this war." "We need proof," Ryuk said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. "Proof that humans are truly Heartkeepers. Proof that the bond provides immunity. Stories are not enough." "I can provide that proof," Kayla said. She pulled a small device from her robes. "This is a genetic scanner. It can analyze DNA and compare it to our historical records. If Taeyang is truly a Heartkeeper descendant, it will show in his genes." Taeyang looked at Nari. Through the bond, he felt her hope and fear. "Do it," he said. Kayla pressed the scanner against his wrist. It hummed softly, lights dancing across its surface. The wait felt like forever. Finally, it beeped. The elder looked at the results and tears filled her ancient eyes. "It is true," she said, her voice breaking. "His genetic markers match the Heartkeeper profile exactly. After 10,000 years, they have returned to us." Ryuk stepped forward, looking at the scanner himself. Whatever he saw there changed something in his expression. The hostility faded, replaced by wonder and perhaps fear. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "Yes," Kayla agreed. "It does. If humans are Heartkeepers, then the mate bond can save our species. But we cannot force this. The bonds must form naturally out of genuine connection. That was the mistake we made before." And we need to inform Earth, Heejin added. Humans have the right to know their own history, and they need to understand what's at stake. Tai Yang's head spun. Wait, you're talking about humans and Lupari forming bonds on a massive scale? Changing both our societies? This is too big. I'm just one person, a cargo hauler. I'm not a diplomat or a leader. Nari turned to face him. You are more than that. You saved me when you could have left me to die. You accepted the bond when you could have rejected it. You are exactly what a heartkeeper should be. The girl speaks truth, Kayla said. You may not want this responsibility, Taeyang. But fate has chosen you. You and Nari are proof that our species can bond again. You are the bridge between our peoples. What do you need us to do? Taeyang asked, his voice steady despite his fear. First, we must bring this news to the Lupari Confederation, Ryuk said. He seemed to have fully accepted the situation now. The council must know that the Heartkeepers have returned. This will cause division. Many, like myself, have been taught that the old ways were foolish. But with proof, with you as living evidence, we can change minds. Second, Hyejin said, we contact Earth. I have connections with the diplomatic corps. Your government will want to send representatives. This first contact between our species will set the tone for everything that follows. And third, Kayla added, we must be prepared for those who will oppose this alliance, on both sides. The Vrex Collective will see this as a threat. Extremists among my people will resist, and there will be humans who fear what bonding with aliens means. Taeyang felt the weight of it all pressing down on him. But through the bond, Nari sent him strength, courage, love. He wasn't alone in this. They were partners in every sense. When do we start? He asked. Now, Kayla said. Every day we delay, more Lupari die. And the Vrex Collective grows bolder. We must act quickly. Over the next hours, they planned. Hyejin sent encrypted messages to Earth's diplomatic channels. Ryuk contacted the Lupari Military Command. Kayla prepared documents proving Taeyang's genetic heritage. And through it all, Taeyang and Nari stayed close, drawing strength from their bond. Late that night, when the others had finally left to rest, Taeyang and Nari stood alone in the observation deck. Through the massive window, stars stretched endlessly. Are you afraid? Nari asked. Terrified, Taeyang admitted, but also excited. We're going to change the galaxy, Nari. Us, two people who met by accident. Not accident, Nari said. She placed her hand over his heart. The blue lights under her fur pulsed in perfect time with his heartbeat. Destiny. The bond knew before we did. Taeyang covered her hand with his. Then let's make sure this destiny is worth it. For both our peoples. As they stood together watching the stars, they didn't know about the forces already moving against them. The messages they had sent were being intercepted. Plans were being made. A storm was coming. But in that moment, they had peace. They had each other. And they had hope that maybe, just maybe, love could bridge the gap between worlds. The news spread like wildfire across human space. Within 3 days, every major news network was covering the story. Humans were the legendary Heartkeepers. Aliens needed them to survive. The fate of an entire species rested on forming bonds with wolf-like warriors from the stars. Taeyang watched the broadcasts from Hyejin's secure office. His face was everywhere. Experts debated what it meant. Religious leaders called it divine providence. Scientists demanded genetic testing. Politicians argued about diplomatic protocols. Everyone had an opinion about his life. I hate this, he muttered. Nari sat beside him, her presence calming. Fame is a burden. I understand. My people are reacting the same way. She was right. The Lupari Confederation was in chaos. The council had called emergency sessions. Factions formed overnight. Some welcomed the return of the Heartkeepers. Others called it a hoax. Commander Ryuk's faction, once opposed to the bonds, was now divided. The proof was too strong to ignore. Ambassador Suman will arrive tomorrow, Hyejin said, entering the office. She's bringing a full diplomatic team from Earth. This is getting bigger by the hour. And my brother? Taeyang asked. Is Jiwoo coming? Hyejin nodded. He's part of the diplomatic corps now. He specifically requested to be on the team. Taeyang felt a mix of emotions. He hadn't seen his brother in 3 years. Their last conversation had been an argument about Taeyang's choice to leave Earth, to live as a cargo hauler instead of settling down. Jiwoo had never understood. Through the bond, Nari felt his anxiety. She squeezed his hand. Family is complicated, but he comes because he cares. The next day brought chaos. Ambassador Su Min arrived with an entourage of diplomats, scientists, and security personnel. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, elegant and commanding. Her eyes assessed everything. "Mr. Taeyang," she said, using formal address, "you've put Earth in an interesting position. We need to discuss what happens next." The formal meetings were exhausting. Hours of questions, medical examinations, genetic tests to confirm what Elder Kayla had already proven. Taeyang endured it all. Nari stayed at his side, her presence the only thing keeping him sane. Jiwoo finally appeared on the second day. He was taller than Taeyang remembered, his diplomatic uniform crisp and professional. They stood facing each other in a corridor, years of distance between them. "Hyung," Jiwoo said, using the Korean term for older brother, "you've caused quite a stir." "I didn't mean to," Taeyang replied. "I just saved someone's life." Jiwoo's eyes moved to Nari, who stood a respectful distance away. "She's really your mate? This bond thing is real?" "It's real. More real than anything I've ever felt." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head. "I came here to convince you to come home. To Earth, where it's safe. But looking at you now, I can see that's not possible." "No," Taeyang agreed. "It's not. Then I'll do what I can to help. Both of you." Jiwoo extended his hand. Taeyang took it, feeling the reconnection of their brotherhood. That night, everything went wrong. Taeyang and Nari were walking back to their quarters when the lights cut out. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red. Alarm klaxons wailed. Through the bond, Taeyang felt Nari's instant alertness, her warrior instincts engaging. "Ambush," she growled. "Stay behind me." Figures emerged from the shadows. 3 of them wearing masks. 2 were human, 1 was Lupari. They moved with deadly purpose. "Traitors to both our species," one of the humans said. "You won't corrupt us with your unnatural bonds." They attacked. Nari moved like lightning. She was beautiful and terrifying in combat. Her claws flashed. 1 attacker went down immediately. But there were 3 of them, and they were trained. The Lupari fighter engaged Nari directly while the humans tried to get to Taeyang. Taeyang wasn't helpless. Years of surviving in dangerous space had taught him to fight. He dodged the first attacker's knife thrust and landed a solid punch to the man's throat. The second attacker was faster, stronger. They grappled, crashing into the wall. Through the bond, Taeyang felt Nari's pain as the Lupari fighter landed a blow. Her pain became his pain. It distracted him for a crucial second. The attacker's knife found his side. Hot agony bloomed through his body. Nari screamed. The sound was primal, filled with rage and fear. She felt his pain just as he felt hers. The bond amplified everything. She turned from her opponent with inhuman speed and threw him bodily into the wall. Then she was at Taeyang's side, catching him as he fell. "No," she said, her voice breaking. "No, no, no." Security arrived then, drawn by the alarms. The attackers were captured or fled. But Taeyang was bleeding badly. The knife had gone deep. Nari held him, her hands trying to stop the bleeding. Her lights blazed so bright they hurt to look at. "Stay with me," she commanded. "You don't get to leave me. We're bonded. You stay." Taeyang wanted to answer, but the pain was overwhelming. Darkness crept in at the edges of his vision. Through the bond, he felt Nari's terror, her love, her desperate will to keep him alive. Their lights pulsed together, faster and faster. Something happened then. Something that had never been documented before. The bond, pushed to its limit by crisis, activated a deeper connection. Energy flowed from Nari into Taeyang. Her life force, her strength, her very essence poured through the mate bond. The wound stopped bleeding. The pain faded to a dull ache. Taeyang gasped, his eyes focusing on Nari's face above him. She was crying, tears running through her fur. But she was smiling. "The bond," she whispered. "It healed you." The old texts were right. Bonded pairs can survive almost anything. Medical teams arrived and rushed them both to the infirmary. The doctors were amazed. The wound that should have killed Taeyang was already closing. Within hours, only a scar remained. Nari stayed at his side, exhausted but relieved. Ambassador Su Min came to see them. Her expression was grave. The attackers were extremists. 2 human supremacists and 1 Lupari purist. They believed killing you would stop the alliance. Instead, they've proven beyond doubt that the bond is real and powerful. Will there be more attacks? Taeyang asked. Probably. Change always faces resistance. But you've given us proof. Video of the attack and your miraculous healing is spreading. Public opinion is shifting. People see the bond's power now. Jiwoo entered, looking shaken. I should have been there. Should have protected you. You couldn't have known, Taeyang said. But Jiwoo, I need you to understand. This bond, this alliance between our peoples, it's worth fighting for. Will you help us? His brother looked at Nari, at the way she held Taeyang's hand, at the blue lights pulsing in perfect sync. Then he nodded. Yes, I'll help. Whatever you need. Outside, the political storm continued. But inside that medical room, 3 people made a pact. They would stand together against those who opposed the alliance. They would prove that humans and Lupari could be partners, could be family. The assassination attempt had failed. And in failing, it had made them stronger. The real work was just beginning. The intelligence came 3 days after the assassination attempt. Commander Ryuk brought it personally to Hyejin's station, his expression grim. The war room was packed with representatives from both species. Taeyang and Nari stood at the center, their hands clasped. The Vrex Collective is planning a major attack, Ryuk announced. Our spies intercepted their communications. They're targeting the Lupari homeworld. They plan to release the plague in our capital city. Millions will die. Silence fell over the room. Ambassador Suman spoke first. When? 10 days. Maybe less. The Vrex know about the Heartkeepers now.
They see the alliance as a threat to their expansion plans.
If they can wipe out the Lupari before bonds can form widely, they win. Nari's claws dug into Taeyang's hand. Through the bond, he felt her rage and fear. My family is on the homeworld, my pack. Everyone I've ever known. We have to stop them, Taeyang said. Is there a way? Elder Kayla stepped forward. There might be. The plague is being manufactured at a Vrex research facility in the border zone. If we destroy that facility, we buy time. Maybe we save the homeworld. A suicide mission, Ryuk said bluntly. The facility is heavily guarded. The Vrex military presence there is significant. Any strike force would be walking into a trap. Then we need a small team, Taeyang said. Everyone looked at him. Something fast and unexpected. Not a military fleet. A handful of people who can get in and out before the Vrex realize what's happening. Hyejin smiled grimly. You're volunteering. Yes, Nari and I, this started with us. Let us finish it. Not alone, Hyejin said. I'm coming. I've flown combat missions before and my ship can get us there. Plus, someone needs to keep you two alive. I volunteer as well, Ryuk said. I am Lupari's finest warrior, and I owe it to my people to protect them. Jiwoo stood up. I'm going too. My brother needs backup. Ambassador Suman looked like she wanted to object, but she nodded instead. Earth stands with the Lupari. We'll provide weapons and support, but this mission is off the books. If it fails, we never authorized it. Understood, Taeyang said. They spent 2 days preparing. Hyejin's ship was a modified corvette, fast and well-armed. Human and Lupari technicians worked together to upgrade its weapons and shields. The team trained together, learning each other's fighting styles. Taeyang was the weakest fighter, but Nari taught him basic combat techniques. Through the bond, they could coordinate better than any normal team. The night before they left, Taeyang and Nari stood in the observation deck. The station's lights dimmed for night cycle, and stars shone bright through the window. We might not come back, Nari said quietly. I know. Are you afraid? Yes, but I would rather die fighting beside you than live without you. The bond has shown me that. Taeyang pulled her close. Then let's make sure we both survive. We have too much to live for. The journey to the Vrex facility took 3 days. They flew through empty space, avoiding patrols. Hyejin piloted with skill born from years of dangerous flying. The team spent the time planning every detail of the attack. The facility was a nightmare of black metal and sharp angles, orbiting a dead moon. Vrex ships patrolled in regular patterns. Getting in would be difficult. Getting out would be nearly impossible. I can disable their communications array, Jiwoo said. He'd proven to have unexpected technical skills. Give us 15 minutes before they can call for help. 15 minutes to get in, plant the charges, and get out, Ryuk said. It will be tight. We can do it, Nari said. Her confidence flowed through the bond to Taeyang. They went in during a shift change when the patrols were least alert. Hyejin's ship slipped past the outer defenses. They docked at a maintenance port, cutting through the airlock with plasma torches. Inside, the facility was cold and dark, lit by harsh blue lights. The Vrex themselves were insect-like creatures, all chitinous armor and clicking mandibles. They worked in perfect synchronization. like parts of a single organism. When the team encountered the first patrol, Nari and Ryuk struck with deadly efficiency. The Vrex never had a chance to sound an alarm. The plague laboratory was at the facility's heart. Rows of containment units held samples of the bioweapon. Taeyang felt sick looking at it. This thing had killed thousands of Lupari, would have killed millions more. Plant the charges here, here, and here, Jiwoo said, pointing to structural weak points. When they blow, this whole section goes up. They worked quickly. Taeyang set charges while Nari and Ryuk guarded the doors. Jiwoo hacked the facility's systems, downloading data about the plague. If they survived, that information could help develop a cure. Then the alarm started. They found us, Heejin's voice crackled over the comm. Vrex reinforcements incoming. You have 5 minutes before this place is swarming. Charges are set, Taeyang said. Let's go, they ran. The facility became a maze of corridors and hostile forces. Vrex soldiers poured from every direction. Ryuk fought like a demon, his claws and teeth deadly weapons. Jiwoo surprised everyone by being handy with a weapon, but there were too many Vrex. A blast caught Taeyang in the back. He went down hard, pain exploding through his body. Through the bond, Nari felt it. She turned with a roar, abandoning her own safety to reach him. A Vrex soldier raised its weapon to finish him. Nari threw herself between them. The blast meant for Taeyang hit her instead. She cried out, collapsing beside him. For a terrible moment, Taeyang thought she was dead. Then the bond flared to life, brighter than ever before. Energy poured between them. His pain became hers. Her injury became his. But instead of weakening them, the bond used their combined life force to heal them both. They stood together, wounds closing, lights blazing so bright the Vrex fell back in confusion. Move, Ryuk shouted, providing cover fire. They reached the ship. Heejin had the engines already hot. The moment they were aboard, she punched the throttle. The ship screamed away from the facility just as the charges detonated. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. Plague samples destroyed, Jiwoo confirmed, checking his scanner. Research data intact. We did it. Taeyang and Nari sat on the floor of the cargo bay, holding each other. They were exhausted, wounded, but alive. The bond pulsed between them, strong and steady. We survived, Nari whispered. Together, Taeyang agreed. Always together. As Hyejin's ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying them home, the team allowed themselves to relax. They had struck a blow against the Vrex. They had saved the Lupari homeworld, and they had proven that humans and Lupari could fight side by side as equals. The war wasn't over, but they had won this battle, and sometimes that was enough. 6 months later, Taeyang stood on the balcony of the Earth Embassy on Lupari Prime. The sky above was a brilliant purple, 2 suns setting on the horizon. Behind him, the embassy building bustled with activity. Humans and Lupari working side by side, building something new together. Nari joined him, her presence warming him before she even touched his shoulder. The bond was stronger now, deeper. They could communicate entire thoughts with just a glance. Her lights pulsed contentedly under her silver fur. The ceremony went well, she said. Yes, Taeyang agreed. They had just witnessed the formal alliance signing between Earth and the Lupari Confederation. Hundreds of dignitaries from both species, speeches about friendship and cooperation. It had been exhausting but hopeful. And the new bonds? He asked. Nari smiled. 15 more this month. Humans and Lupari meeting naturally, forming connections. The bonds are happening across both our worlds now. We were just the first, it was true. In the month since their mission against the Vrex, more bonds had formed. Human traders met Lupari merchants. Earth scientists collaborated with Lupari researchers. And sometimes in that collaboration, something deeper sparked. The mate bond could not be forced, but it could be encouraged through genuine connection. Commander Ryuk had been one of the surprising converts. After seeing the bond save both Taeyang and Nari during the mission, he had become a vocal supporter of the alliance. He now led the Lupari Integration Corps, helping newly bonded pairs navigate their relationships. Elder Kayla had established schools where both species learned about each other's cultures. Human children learned Lupari honor codes. Lupari youth studied human philosophy and art. The exchange was transforming both societies. Jiwoo sends his regards, Taeyang said. His brother had returned to Earth to help coordinate the diplomatic efforts there. They talked regularly now. The distance between them finally healed. He says more humans are volunteering for exchange programs than they have slots for. That is good, Nari said. My people are the same. Everyone wants to meet the Heart Keepers. To learn from them. Do you ever regret it? Taeyang asked. Everything changed for you? Your whole life got turned upside down. Nari turned to face him fully. Her golden eyes were warm in the fading sunlight. Never before you I was just a warrior. I fought because that was my duty. Now I fight for something I believe in. For us. For our people's future. You gave me purpose beyond simple survival. She touched his face gently. And you? Do you regret stopping to save a dying alien? Taeyang laughed. That was the best decision I ever made. I was so lonely before, Nari. Going from station to station, no real connections. Now I have you. I have purpose. I have a family again. Ambassador Sumin found them on the balcony. She looked pleased. A rare expression for the usually serious diplomat. There you are. I've been looking for you both. Is something wrong? Taeyang asked. Wrong? No, I have a proposal for you. The Heartkeeper Foundation needs directors. People who understand both the bond and the practical challenges newly bonded pairs face. I can't think of anyone better than you two. The Heartkeeper Foundation had been established to support bonded pairs. It provided counseling, medical care, and advocacy. It was growing rapidly as more bonds formed. We would be honored, Nari said. She looked at Taeyang, who nodded agreement. Good. But there's a condition. The Foundation headquarters will be mobile, traveling between Earth and Lupari space, helping pairs wherever they need it. You'd be constantly moving, Taeyang grinned. That sounds perfect. We never were the type to stay in one place. I thought you'd say that, Ambassador Sumin said. Your ship, the Morning Star, is being upgraded as we speak. Bigger crew quarters, medical facilities, everything you'll need. The next week was a whirlwind. They met with the first pairs they would help. A human engineer and his Lupari mate who were struggling with cultural differences. A Lupari scientist and her human partner dealing with family rejection. Each couple had their own challenges, but the core was always the same. They needed guidance from someone who had walked this path before. Taeyang and Nari found themselves perfect for this work. They could explain the bond's mechanics, the emotional challenges, the joys and difficulties. They became not just advocates but teachers and friends. The upgraded Morning Star was beautiful. Hyjin had overseen the modifications personally. The old cargo hauler had been transformed into a mobile embassy. It had medical bays, conference rooms, and comfortable quarters. But it still had that familiar feel, still felt like home. On the day they were set to depart, a crowd gathered at the spaceport. Humans and Lupari both waving goodbye. Elder Kayla came to see them off, tears in her ancient eyes. You have done more than I ever dreamed possible, she told them. The Heartkeepers have truly returned. And you, my children, you are the bridge between our worlds. Commander Ryuk offered a warrior's salute. Fight well, love well. Honor to you both. Jiwoo had come all the way from Earth for this. He hugged his brother tightly. Take care of each other, and come visit when you can. We will, Taeyang promised. The Morning Star lifted off smoothly. As they broke atmosphere, Taeyang sat in the pilot's chair, Nari beside him. Space stretched out before them, infinite and welcoming. Somewhere out there, more bonded pairs needed their help. More bridges needed to be built between species. Ready? Nari asked. Always, Taeyang replied. They jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Lupari Prime behind. But they were not leaving home. Home was wherever they were together. Home was in the bond that connected them, stronger than any distance. In the months and years that followed, they traveled extensively. They helped dozens of bonded pairs. They mediated disputes between human and Lupari governments. They became symbols of what their two species could achieve together. The Vrex Collective remained a threat, but the alliance was strong now. Joint human-Lupari fleets patrolled the borders. Scientists from both species worked on a cure for the plague, and slowly the tide of the war began to turn. More importantly, a new generation was being born, children of bonded pairs carrying genetic traits from both species. They were stronger, more empathic, more capable than either parent species alone. They were the future. One evening, years after that first rescue, Taeyang and Nari sat together in the observation deck of the Morning Star. They had just finished helping a newly bonded couple work through their first major disagreement. It had been exhausting but rewarding. Do you remember the first time we sat here together? Nari asked. When I was still recovering, still trying to understand what the bond meant. I remember, Taeyang said. You were so afraid of losing yourself in the bond, of becoming less Lupari. And you were afraid of losing your freedom, Nari said. We were both so worried about what we might lose. We didn't see what we would gain. We gained everything, Taeyang said. He took her hand, feeling the familiar pulse of the bond. We gained each other. We gained purpose. We helped change the galaxy. Nari leaned her head against his shoulder. Her lights pulsed in perfect synchronization with his heartbeat. I would make the same choice again. Every time. In every life. Me too, Taeyang agreed. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars stream past. The morning star carried them onward toward their next destination. There were more couples to help, more bridges to build. The work would never truly be finished, but that was okay. They had time. The bond had synchronized their lifespans. They would live centuries together, exploring the galaxy, helping others find what they had found. Love, purpose, connection. The simple rescue had become something extraordinary. A dying alien and a lonely cargo hauler had changed the fate of two species. They had proven that compassion could bridge any divide, that love could heal ancient wounds. They were the first bonded pair of the new era, but they would not be the last. Behind them, a wave of connections formed, human and Lupari coming together. The Heartkeepers had truly returned, and this time they were here to stay. As the morning star jumped to its next destination, two souls rested in perfect harmony. They had found each other in the darkness of space. They had saved each other in ways that went beyond physical rescue. And together, bonded and strong, they would face whatever the future held. The journey was just beginning.